So ScarJo might be in The Batman Part 2, and that means a lot of things, so let's talk about it. So according to reports, Scarlett Johansson may be joining Matt Reeves' The Batman Part 2, whatever we're calling it. Now, even though we know next to nothing about this movie, I wanted to make a video to talk about characters that she could be playing, because I think her introduction here is interesting, and I think it tells us something interesting about this movie that a lot of people have suspected for a while. I'm going to go over it all. I don't think I need to explain to anybody on planet Earth who Scarlett Johansson is. She is one of our, I would say, bona fide, like, movie stars. There are very few of those. Very few movie stars that can, like, open a movie overseas. I think Scarlett Johansson is one of them, and she might be one of the only women working today who could do that. Angelina Jolie, I think, used to be that. You know, there's actresses that are great, like Emma Stone, who apparently also was up for this role and probably turned it down. But, like, Scarlett Johansson is the perfect blend of, she's like an action star, so she's in all those Marvel movies, obviously, as Black Widow, but also she does plenty of prestige movies. She was in Asteroid City, she was in Her, she was in Lost in Translation. And, like, currently, because she's dead in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although that has not stopped a lot of people from returning before, but let's say she's done with those forever, she still has an enormous franchise on her hands with these Jurassic World movies. So, like, I do think, well, she's probably not, like, our best actor, woman who's working right now, and you don't need to compare them all, but, like, I think you could make the case that she's the biggest star that is a woman, even though there's obviously plenty of actors. Emma Stone, honestly, is a really good comparison here because of how different their careers are and how much they're both kind of successful and respected. Like, how about this? Scarlett Johansson is joining The Batman Part 2. I don't think there is a single actor in The Batman Part 1, which I guess is what we're calling it now, who is a bigger star than Scarlett Johansson. I think Robert Pattinson, while a star, while clearly a famous person, he's not at the level of Scarlett Johansson. Zoe Kravitz isn't there, Paul Dano's not there, and that's not to say they're bad or anything like that. That is to say, her joining this movie is kind of a big deal. And even if she doesn't join the movie, the fact that she has been considered or is seemingly, entertaining an offer, that means something. Because what we can learn from that is, without knowing very much about the Batman Part 2 at all, besides the fact that it takes place after the Batman Part 1, and I'm assuming after the Penguin, and also we found out today that Zoe Kravitz isn't going to be in it, so that's interesting. No Catwoman. But, like, finding out that Scarlett Johansson is going to be in this movie means whatever character she's playing really matters, because she's expensive, and I do think she's like an actor who gets to decide what role she wants to do. Like, she can pick her projects, she's got tons of money. I don't think she would do this if it was just like a bit part or she didn't think it was worth it. I have a feeling this is a meaty role that is for a woman who is around Robert Pattinson's age. So Robert Pattinson currently is 39, Scarlett Johansson is currently 41. That's very interesting, right? If she was much older, much younger than him, right? If, like, Meryl Streep got cast in this movie, that's a different story. I mean, that could still be interesting, don't get me wrong. And there's all kinds of things you could do where maybe Scarlett Johansson is a character that exists largely in flashbacks or something like that. We don't know that, but just looking at these two characters, the male and female leads of this movie, most likely, the fact that they're both the same age, it means a couple things. Before we get to the character she's playing, I just want to say one other thing about Scarlett Johansson that I think is interesting. Besides the fact that just, like, I really like Scarlett Johansson. I think she's good in those Avengers movies. I also think she's very funny. I think she's great when she hosts SNL. And there is no easier way for a celebrity to immediately, like, endear themselves to me than for me to see them on SNL and go, they're pretty funny. I had no opinion about Bad Bunny until I saw him on SNL, and now I'm like, oh, that guy's cool, right? And, like, Scarlett Johansson loves being on SNL and married Colin Jost, who is the head writer currently, or a co-head writer of SNL. And I don't think Scarlett Johansson is necessarily known for comedies, but I do think it's a skill set that she has that not necessarily every actor has. Emma Stone, for example, also has that skill set. But the only other thing about Scarlett Johansson, and let's compare it to Emma Stone a little bit, I would say Emma Stone, some of the roles she plays, tend to be characters who are more relatable, maybe down to earth. That's not to say that's all she plays. Obviously, Begonia, she plays like a CEO, and Poor Things, she plays like a Frankenstein. But, like, starting back with Superbad, Emma Stone is the girl next door. I would say kind of the same goes for her Spider-Man character, Gwen Stacy. La La Land, struggling actress. Eddington, she makes crafts on Etsy and then gets sucked down a conspiracy rabbit hole. Even the movie Cruella, the whole point of Cruella is, like, before she was Cruella, she was a scrappy, like, underdog, right? That's Emma Stone. I don't think Scarlett Johansson is that. I think Scarlett Johansson, while she can play relatable if she wants to, is supposed to feel fancy for lack of a better term. Just think about Asteroid City. She's a former actress. Her character in the Iron Man movie starts off as a potentially former model who it turns out is a super spy. In her, she's like an omnipresent AI voice. Marriage Story actress, Ghost in the Shell super spy, Lucy sort of super spy, Hail Caesar actress again, Prestige magician's assistant. Like, I think Scarlett Johansson, one of the things that she's really good at is evoking the idea of like kind of an old Hollywood starlet. That's why it's so interesting that her name is Scarlett. I think it's a good name for that reason. So why bother with that? Well, I think there are other actors you can get who are good actors. I think Scarlett Johansson might be the best at that. So if they were looking at her for this project, I'm gonna kind of assume that's part of the character. Like, that's part of the package of what they wanted to get. And while Emma Stone, I think, is more relatable, I think there's a middle ground between this very fancy starlet character and this relatable kind of girl next door that is interesting in this movie. And we're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about 5 characters. I got 5 here because that's a good number for these. And those are the numbers that I came up with that I think she could be playing. And I'll just go through the first 2 pretty quickly because they're not super interesting. First one, Vicky Vale. People are probably familiar with that character from Batman 1989, played by Kim Basinger. She is a romantic interest of Batman. She's a reporter, and I think in the comics she was a photographer specifically, although that's changed obviously over time. I don't really have any strong opinions about Vicky Vale. The only thing I'll say about Vicky Vale is I wouldn't be shocked if that's what this character's name is, but what this character really is more what one of these other characters is going to be. I'll get to it. Second character, this is one I personally would love to see. I'm not convinced this is what they're going to do, but you could do a gender-swapped Hugo Strange. Make her Helena Strange or something like that. Have her be the new psychiatrist in charge of Arkham who deduces Batman's identity and, terrorizes him or whatever, she wants to do. And hey, now there's this interesting, like, psychosexual component to it. That could be kind of cool. I'm not sold on that. I think you could still put Hugo Strange in this movie, but I think she's probably playing something different. Another character she could be, so I guess this is 6 characters. She could be playing Bruce Wayne's mom. She could be playing Martha Wayne in flashbacks, if there are a lot of them. Like, if it is a significant role, then maybe that's what they got her for. That feels like too small of a role for her, even if it's a big part. It doesn't feel like what you get Scarlett Johansson for. B, there's probably already an actress that plays that role in these movies, even if it was just like in pictures or something. C, I don't think she looks like she's related to Robert Pattinson. That's just me, but I don't think they look like she could have been his mom. Obviously, you can kind of style it differently, but I don't know. I don't think Emma Stone does either. So if that's what this character was, I think there's other people you could pick that kind of look more like him. But okay, so here's the 3 that I actually think she's playing, and it might be some kind of, cosmic gumbo mix of all 3 of them. And I'm going to say right now in the video, spoilers, potentially, because I think this movie very much could be a mystery centered around a character that this could appear to be. Like, I'm not saying that I think if there is a mystery character and Scarlett Johansson is in this movie playing this character, that she necessarily will be. It may be kind of to throw you off the scent. I'm not sure. But there were a couple of characters that are very specific connections to Bruce Wayne. And like, even their stories back in the day were mysteries, but I think it's interesting because of what they have in common and what I think Scarlett Johansson could bring to those characters. This first one I'm going to talk about, I believe no matter who she's playing in this movie, she is going to seem like this character. Like, she's going to feel like this character and probably look like this character. And that is a very famous Batman girlfriend known as Silver St. Cloud. A lot of Batman fans, myself included. And listen, I like the Batman Catwoman thing. I think that's fun. If I had to pick someone for Bruce to settle down with, Silver St. Cloud's really on Bruce's level. And she's one of a few characters, like Hugo Strange and maybe a couple others we'll get to, who deduced Batman's identity. She was just like a Gotham socialite who bumped into Bruce Wayne and had like a spark. She's not secretly a bad guy. I don't know if they've ever done anything like that with her, but like, at least the way she was introduced and like what the main story she's from like the 80s, I think, like, that's not what she's there for. She's there to be the potential love of Bruce's life, who he just met, the other day, and they started dating, and he gets to have this really normal relationship. And the Batman thing's kind of getting in the middle of it, but also Silver St. Cloud's no idiot. She can kind of see what's going on. And by the end of the story, to spoil the, 5 or 6 issue arc that this is a part of, she eventually leaves Bruce and Batman, knowing they're both the same people, the same way that, I'm trying to think of who else does this in the movies, but this has happened a couple times in like the movies and television shows where characters like, I love you and I love the idea of you being Bruce and the idea of you being Batman, but it's just so scary. I can't stay up at night knowing that you're fighting homicidal clowns on fire escapes. Like that would drive me insane. God, I'm trying to think of what character this is. I guess maybe it's a little bit Rachel Dawes. Either way, this idea of a girlfriend of a superhero, or potentially a boyfriend, tends to be a girlfriend, who loves a superhero, loves both parts of them, but cannot let themselves fall in love with a superhero because of the danger they are in and because of the stress that puts on them. A very frequent trope. But okay, so like, why ScarJo for this part specifically? Like, why do I think this is going to be the identity she gets? Well, one, Silver St. Cloud has never been in a movie before, to my knowledge. I can't even think of any animated material she's been in outside of apparently the My Adventures with Superman cartoon. She's probably in like an episode of the animated series, but I don't remember it. She also was in, just comes to my head, but she was in the Elmer Fudd Batman crossover comic, so that's fun. She serves a very specific purpose. And I think someone like Matt Reeves, who can see the potential there, can use a character like that people are not familiar with, but a character that people can kind of see and go, I get this. She's a socialite. She's on Bruce's level, and maybe she's even on Batman's level. What's he going to do? Like, I could see a world where that character is attractive to Matt Reeves because of how much she is both a very specific archetype and also can exist as a blank slate. Also, I think ScarJo just kind of looks like her. I think if you dyed Scarlett Johansson's hair platinum blonde, which you have to do because that's the Silver St. Cloud look, and like Emma Stone did that before in the Spider-Man movies, so like that's another reason kind of why I'm like, this feels like it could have been it. But like, I think if you do that, Silver St. Cloud is supposed to feel like fancy, kind of old Gotham money. She goes to galas, dresses like a supermodel, and if part of this movie, and I believe we've heard someone talk about this, probably Matt Reeves, is about Bruce figuring out who Bruce Wayne is and like sorting out that part of his identity, a character like this, who's sort of what Bruce Wayne pretends to be, would be really interesting to introduce into this world. So, all right, now knock against Silver St. Cloud. She's not secretly the villain, which means there would need to be a third character in this movie who is also going to like share screen time with Robert Pattinson as Batman and just Scarlett Johansson, and it's the villain and they're supposed to pull focus. So like, who do you even get for that role? And that's, that's a big ask. I'm not saying that I think Scarlett Johansson is definitely also secretly the bad guy in this. I think there's a lot of options for how you play a character like this. Maybe have her be more of an anti-hero. I know what you're thinking. Oh, that's kind of what Catwoman was. True, but I think the Catwoman-Batman relationship in the Batman Part 1 was very much that, a Batman-Catwoman relationship. There was no Bruce and Selina, and they just met sometimes and had like a chemistry. This would be like a relationship, a romance. Anyway, so that's why I think no matter what, if I had to put like money down on what this character is named, I would say Silver St. Cloud. Also, I don't gamble. Don't gamble, kids. There's too much gambling out there. It's crazy how many DraftKings ads there are and how many lives that have been ruined by gambling. So, don't gamble. If you're going to gamble a little bit, but don't put like a prop bet on like how many points a guy will score. It's just not like people were not meant to constantly be gambling like this. And as much as I think it's weird the way we kind of advertise alcohol and the way we used to advertise smoking, gambling is another addictive thing. Like, people get addicted to it. Some people have a physiological response that makes them more likely to gamble and never stop. The fact that that is advertised with like Kevin Hart or whoever in a swimming pool holding gold bars surrounded by models, that has to be so difficult to watch as someone who is susceptible to gambling addiction. Like, damn, gambling's bad. Don't do it. Do like a fantasy football league once a year for a modest amount of money. Enjoy that. And then this is just Nando's Don't Gamble Corner. Maybe this will be a regular segment because the more sports I have watched, I watched a lot of sports this year. I watched more baseball than I usually do. Obviously, I tend to watch football most out of all the sports, but like there's so much gambling being advertised and I just hate it. Where was I? Okay, so I feel like Scarlett Johansson will be playing a character named Silver St. Cloud. However, I think it is likely that the character will also kind of be a different character, if for no other reason than to hide the fact that this is Scarlett Johansson. You do not want to, say, for example, have to cast her as Norman Osborn and then make a movie, an advertise a movie, where a big central mystery is who is the Green Goblin. Because all the announcements from the beginning will be that Scarlett Johansson is playing this character who's secretly a villain. And that ruins the whole thing. Does it have to be a mystery? Not necessarily, but that's the role that I feel like we're going to get here. I think we're going to get Scarlett Johansson seeming to be, and maybe even genuinely being, a friend or a like romantic partner of Bruce Wayne's. And the way the movie would go, Silver St. Cloud would show back up again. She would be a big part of Bruce's life, but then this other figure, some sort of villain or anti-hero or whatever, would show up, and Bruce would be like, oh, she's a problem, I gotta do something about her. And it would turn out that Silver St. Cloud is that character, and is either unaware that Bruce is Batman, and just happens to be kind of part of both of these worlds, and that causes problems. It also causes opportunities, because like they understand each other in a way that nobody else really can. Or she's out for revenge, and this is all part of a big plot. That's another option. Anyway, the other two characters she could be, and I'm really drawing this out because I think it's important to set those expectations. It's going to turn out to be Poison Ivy or something, though. You know, now that I think about it, it's going to be some like, oh yeah, it's a famous woman from a Batman movie, so then she's going to be her. Poison Ivy, she would be uniquely qualified to play Poison Ivy because, as Scarlett Johansson said, she can play anything, a person or a tree, ... But as with Poison Ivy is, she's a tree woman. She's never gonna live that quote down. It's too funny. And I think Scarlett Johansson, while not perfect and really on the Woody Allen apologist team for whatever reason, I think she probably, now that she's like gotten some distance from it, knows why she shouldn't play like an Asian woman or whatever. Ghost in the Shell was about, whatever people were mad at her. I never watched it. Anyway, okay, back to this. The two that I think she could be. Oh, also, I don't have any Court of Owls in here because the Court of Owls is like a thing. There are certain characters that end up being like the focus of the Court of Owls, and you can introduce different. I just don't think. I think it's these two. Also, I just don't like the Court of Owls very much, and I don't think it would be fun here because, again, I've said this in videos before, it's a massive conspiracy involving Gotham's police and the mayor and the crime family. Everybody in Gotham is connected via this secret conspiracy, and that's what we did in the first Batman movie. So if we do that again, it's like, hey, where were these guys then? And also, okay, it's another conspiracy. That's weird that there's two of them going on at the same time. But anyway, okay. The other two people. Let's go with the easy one first. Andrea Beaumont. Many of you probably familiar with this character because she is a huge part of what many people say is the best Batman movie ever made, technically. And I believe it got a theatrical release, at least enough of it to be like on these lists. But Andrea Beaumont, and spoilers from here on out, is a character created for the movie Mask of the Phantasm. Is an animated movie, part of the Batman of the 90s animated universe. She came back for like the Justice League Unlimited episode, but besides that, she's mostly from this movie because it's everything she needs to be. Andrea Beaumont is, as I remember it, a friend of Bruce Wayne's from his past, so they have history. Bruce almost gave up trying to become Batman because he was so in love with her. I believe he even proposed to her. Also, she has red hair, much like Emma Stone. But anyway, it's like, oh, Andrea Beaumont, you're so great. Bruce falls right back into that routine. At the same time, there's this hooded figure running around looking a lot like the Grim Reaper, kind of, known as the Phantasm. And spoiler alert for how this always works in a story where an old friend returns at the same time as a new bad guy shows up. No matter how much they try to left turn and make it a secret, it actually turns out that that's who she is. Andrea Beaumont is the Phantasm. She's getting revenge on the mobsters that killed her family, which includes, in this one movie, the Joker, because before he was Jokerfied, he was the mobster who was sent to kill her dad. So hey, we're involving the Joker, a character that was introduced in the last movie, in this story maybe. That's kind of cool. We know nothing about him, so maybe he was like a young assassin back in the day. But Andrea Beaumont's whole thing, and what Bruce and Andrea kind of have difficulty with, is Bruce is like, Andrea, don't do revenge, it's bad. That's something Bruce knows. You know, Bruce learned that over the course of the last movie, had to teach that lesson to Selina. He is a symbol of hope now. So this character from Bruce's life comes in, really causes chaos, both gives Bruce this idea of like what his life can be like as just a normal guy, and at the same time is the exact kind of anti-hero that Batman is supposed to stand right against. You could even do a thing, I don't know if they do this, where Phantasm is like a hero, like a people's champ kind of folk hero who is killing mobsters. Now you may be running up against knock one against this Phantasm theory. We already went through a lot of the criminal underworld of Gotham in both the Batman Part 1 and the Penguin show. So who's left? Because the Maronis are dead, the Falcones are dead, Gigante's around, the Penguin's in charge, but I'm not even sure if he's going to be in this movie. I feel like I remember hearing that he wasn't, and even if he is, I doubt they would make it so like you have to have seen the Penguin show to understand this, but like kind of what The Long Halloween was and why it's such a seminal Batman comic is it tells the story of the transition from mobster villains to supervillains in Batman's life. And I think, even though the Batman wasn't explicitly about this, the Riddler, Catwoman, Penguin taking control away from the mobsters and the corrupt police and stuff, that does feel like it's supposed to. So like having a character like Andrea come back and be like, I'm going to get all the mobsters. It's like, we're past that. That's not what this world is anymore. So that's problem one with the Andrea theory. Problem two, and this is kind of specific, definitely to ScarJo. There's women, plenty of women. I don't have any great examples off the top of my head, but they exist. Who I think you could put in a superhero outfit and it would look like a man or just an androgynous figure. I don't think Scarlett Johansson is one of those people. I think she is like 5'3" or something like that, maybe shorter. And yeah, they can use like fancy camera tricks to make her seem tall. But the idea that Scarlett Johansson is both a person that we see in this movie and like Scarlett Johansson, like a movie star in fancy gala dresses, and then is going out and fighting crime as the Phantasm in a superhero outfit, even if it's like a flowy cloak situation, and Batman can't see her and go, oh, is that a small woman in there? I find that a little hard to believe. I don't think that can't be done, and it's a movie. There's tricks in movie magic and whatever. I think Scarlett Johansson, more than a lot of other actors that are like in the same kind of class as she is, like the same age group and stuff, I would have a hard time dressing this character up, and maybe not even just Batman doesn't see it, but like we don't see it, because again, in a movie like this is supposed to be a mystery. Now, you could do a version of this story where Andrea Beaumont is running this, but has somebody else pretending to be the Phantasm. Like she's hired a guy or something. Maybe she's working with somebody else from Bruce's past who we'll get to. That's something you could do. But I don't know. That is something that's tricky about the idea of like the Phantasm working here and working in live action, is if you want to make it so this is a genuine mystery to audiences, I don't know how you do it. I don't know what the Phantasm looks like in a world like that. And you know what? Andrea Beaumont, Silver St. Cloud, and this is another thing why maybe Silver St. Cloud is the Phantasm instead, they share a lot in common. They are both girlfriends who Batman nearly quit being Batman for, or like nearly was like, we can make it work. I will figure it out. Batman wasn't really necessarily ready to quit with Silver St. Cloud, but like it was a relationship that Batman was like really interested in. She got the key to Batman's place, like nobody had that. And Alfred was like, this might be the one. That's true of Andrea Beaumont as well. So another reason why I think these characters are somewhat interchangeable. Another thing about Andrea Beaumont and Silver St. Cloud, both of them in the field, so not like from their childhood or anything, but like seeing Bruce Wayne and then seeing Batman in person, go like, oh, that's Bruce Wayne. They deduce Batman's identity from knowing both of them well, like from knowing Bruce well, obviously, knowing Batman well enough from just like seeing him and being able to sense that that is the man that she's in love with under the mask. Everybody's fooled, but not Andrea Beaumont or Silver St. Cloud. Like that's like why I think these characters are so interchangeable. So the other character that I think this could be, and this one's trickier, would be a gender swapped version of, although I don't think you need to change the name, Tommy Elliott. Tommy can be a woman's name. And Tommy Elliott is a character, spoilers for the last time, known as Hush. Now, it has become very fashionable, in comic book YouTube circles specifically, to not really like Hush, to kind of hate on it, think it's not that great of an event. And I am also fashionable because I also don't really like Hush. It is just not a story I gel with. I cannot believe they're making a second one, or they made it. I haven't heard anybody talking about it. But the idea behind Hush is he's the guy with the bandages. He is a friend of Bruce Wayne's. The way the story is set up is very, like, supposed to kind of make you go, oh, it's Tommy. And then Tommy gets killed. And it's like, well, I guess I can't be Tommy. But then Tommy shows up and it's like, I faked it. He is a master surgeon who's obsessed with Bruce Wayne because he was friends with Bruce Wayne as a kid. So like Andrea, I believe, was friends with Bruce Wayne as like a young adult, but Tommy grew up with Bruce Wayne, so that's interesting. And Tommy, I believe, tried to kill his parents so that he could inherit their wealth. He wanted to do that. But Thomas Wayne, the accomplished surgeon, saved his life. And I believe from that point on, Tommy was obsessed with Bruce Wayne and Batman because he figured out that Bruce is Batman. So hey, it's a fourth character after Hugo, Silver St. Cloud, Andrea Beaumont, who has deduced the identity of Batman, which is my thing. Is I think somebody's going to do it in this next movie, especially because nobody did it in the last movie, and it's going to be a fun little thumbnail everybody's going to show around. It'd be like, he does know. But again, where Andrea is kind of trying to do her own thing and also runs back into Bruce, and it complicates everything, Tommy is out for revenge to get Bruce and Batman. And it's a whole big evil scheme. So again, like Andrea, pre-Batman friend, so that's interesting. The same way that Silver St. Cloud and Andrea Beaumont come from stories where Batman fights the Joker. Hush comes from a story where, I mean, the Joker's also involved, but it's a Riddler story specifically. So it's interesting because this universe has a Riddler. Hush works with Riddler in the comics. So like you could have a whole thing where, oh, Riddler broke out and he's back a little bit, and then, oh, he's killed or something, and it's like, who is it then? Who's doing this? Also, Paul Dano's a good actor, right? It's weird that Quentin Tarantino said that. Tommy is also, like Andrea and Silver St. Cloud, a member of Gotham High Society, which is what, if we're doing Tommy but a woman, I think is what Scarlett Johansson can sell. So like I think she fits really well into a role like that. But then it's like, okay, so the character Hush, more even so than Phantasm, looks like a guy. Like it looks like a man in a very tight outfit with a big old coat and the bandages around his head. But like, I think someone reading that book would not be like, oh, is that secretly a woman? It just, you see the character too much for that to work. Also, like I said, Hush is not the most beloved of the Bat Rogues, the same way that like Phantasm for a lot of people is like one of their favorite Batman villains ever. Hush, I think, was supposed to be that, but it just didn't really play. He never fit back into Batman's rogues gallery, and he felt like kind of a knockoff version of Phantasm, honestly, but like less interesting. And the same way that Phantasm, I don't think, has made it into any of the live action material, and Silver St. Cloud has not, Tommy has. I believe Hush was on the Batwoman show, and I don't know if he's done anything else, but the word Hush was in The Batman, so it's like, ooh, maybe that's a clue. What I think we get, now we're in super prediction mode, is all three of these characters smushed into one, named Silver St. Cloud. So I think Scarlett Johansson gets this role, accepts it. She's cast as Silver St. Cloud, Bruce Wayne's new girlfriend, and they don't talk about anything else. We don't even talk about the villain of the movie. I think they go as long as they can before this movie comes out without even showing the villain or making it seem like it's a completely new character. But they also cast other people, so it does play as a mystery. Like, they could even cast an actor playing a Tommy Elliott, so we're like, oh, is that the bad guy? And maybe Scarlett Johansson is just like, and that's a mystery. And that's interesting, because we don't really do those in Batman. Like, we know who the Riddler is when the movie starts. Sometimes we don't know, like, everything about him. There's no question of, like, is the Riddler in the room with Bruce Wayne right now? So it would be pretty cool if we did something like that, like on a little, Murder on the Orient Express is a bad example, because in that situation, they all did it. But, like, an actual mystery that Batman has to solve. But like, I think you cast all three of these characters: Silver St. Cloud, Tommy Elliott, a man, and Andrea Beaumont. I don't know who plays Andrea Beaumont. Emma Stone would be a good Andrea Beaumont. Kristen Stewart could be funny. I want Kristen Stewart again in this. And honestly, like, maybe she could be a convincing Phantasm in the role. Like, you could see a Phantasm and go, maybe that is Kristen Stewart, if it's very, like, kind of, there's very little form to it. But I think maybe we get all of them, but Silver St. Cloud ends up being the main antagonist, and I do think she gets the Andrea Beaumont Phantasm backstory, maybe with the Tommy Elliott origin backstory. Like, she is a childhood friend of Bruce Wayne's. They had this really good chemistry as like kids, up until maybe they both went to college and Bruce kind of split up and whatever. But I think she's a character who has known Bruce Wayne for a while, shows up again, Phantasm stuff starts happening. Also, maybe we just name that character a different thing so it's not clearly Andrea Beaumont, or just clearly that it's a woman even though it seems like it's a man twist. You could just call him like the Grey Ghost or something, just completely new character. But you give him the Andrea Beaumont like pathos, because it's more interesting. I want to get revenge on these people that killed my family and were involved in my family's death, including the Joker. So we get to include the Joker. That's really fun. And Bruce has to decide whether he should give up being Batman to pursue a life with Silver St. Cloud, then finds out eventually that she is the Grey Ghost or whatever. honestly, what we'd be getting here is sort of a Mysterio, I guess, from like the Spider-Man movie, where for a while we are led to believe, like, if you kind of even pay a little bit of attention that he's back at, but like the movie doesn't tell you until the halfway point. And I guess like Grey Ghost or like the Phantasm could be like Scooby-Doo, a projector on smoke kind of things where there's not even like a guy there. Although then like, what's Batman fighting? I don't know, that's not as fun. I want somebody who can actually go toe-to-toe with Batman. So then Batman has to save the Joker from her at the end of the movie, and in doing so, ruin his relationship with the love of his life because of his commitment to Batmaning. I mean, like, I feel like that's kind of a grim, like, I want a world where Batman can have it all, or at least, like, have some semblance of, like, happiness. Like, that's the whole thing with Andrea Beaumont. It's like, I didn't think I could be happy, so now that I'm happy, and what am I supposed to do? Am I still supposed to be Batman? Because those two don't gel. Like, I want to live in a world that is, like, a little bit more hopeful, and maybe that is when you bring Catwoman back, and you're like, see, this is perfect for him. Like, this is what he needs. And I know what we just did here is came up with kind of a hypothetical version of the movie that it probably won't be, based on just one piece of casting and the idea of Bruce Wayne's identity specifically being important to this movie. But I don't know, this feels so right. Feels like such a clear next step from the journey of the Batman, because he is supposed to be this symbol of hope, or at least he's trying to do that. But then this Grim Reaper from his past starts showing up, kind of tempting him. I do think there would need to be some other wrinkle where maybe Silver St. Cloud is working with Tommy Elliott, and Tommy Elliott fakes his death, and then Tommy Elliott is the stand-in for the Grey Ghost or Phantasm. At that point, he can be Phantasm. Who cares? Because it's clearly not the woman. Like, we could see him and go, that's a man's body. It's not Scarlett Johansson. She could even be there for a Phantasm thing, so she could be like, wow, that's the Phantasm, and I'm over here. Two different people. And the twist is like Tommy's working for her or something. I don't know. Especially recently, I've had a soft spot for Silver St. Cloud. I think she's a fun character, and I'd like that she wasn't secretly a bad guy. Like, she was just a person who Batman and like Bruce Wayne almost worked, but then it didn't, and became this tragic figure. But for that reason, I think she'd be the perfect like smokescreen for working Andrea Beaumont Phantasm story into a movie like this without immediately revealing that that's what they're doing. Like, geniuses like us have figured it out, but the regular people, the public, they don't know. And like, a lot of these movies that are mysteries, like Spider-Man wasn't ruined by the fact that everybody going into it kind of figured out what Mysterio's deal was within a minute of meeting him. But I think you have an opportunity to do something really cool. Do like a Clue kind of Batman movie where he is just solving murders, and there are characters like suspects that we, the audience, are aware of, and like right there with Batman, we have to figure out what's going on. I think that'd be really fun, but we'll see. I mean, this movie doesn't come out for a while, and if you need something to tide yourselves over until 2027 or whenever this movie is released, maybe like a short film that's not necessarily about like high society, but is about a part of high society, which is fancy dining and some of the difficulties therein, you could check out The Dinner Plan, a short film made by Patrick Willems. It's about a guy played by Griffin Newman, who you may recognize from The Tick, who has to navigate a very important business dinner, even though he has lots of food allergies, but he doesn't want to upset his host, which, as someone who has both gone to fancy work dinners and fancy work dinners with some interesting food, like I worked for a company forever ago that was largely Swedish, and we had fish, the Swedish fish that they bury underground at one of the parties, and that was interesting. We didn't but like I ate some, and I remember stressing out a little bit beforehand, but I guess that's a different situation, because then they all knew none of us were going to love it. But with The Dinner Plan, it's like, what if loving it and being complimentary about the food is something that you have to do for work? How do you get through that? And listen, I feel like I'm kind of over-explaining it. Just go watch it. It's got John Hodgman, Miriam Shore, Zach Cherry, a lot of people you probably recognize from TV stuff, or in the Zach Cherry specifically, you probably recognize him from being the guy that's like, Spider-Man, do a flip, or the guy that's like, I'm live streaming Shang-Chi. Anyway, if you want to watch The Dinner Plan, along with all kinds of other great stuff, you should check out this video sponsor, Nebula, which we just introduced 3-day trials for Nebula. You're like, what's Nebula? Well, it's a subscription streaming service that I helped to create. I've talked about this many times in many videos before, where me and a bunch of other YouTube creators, people that make videos about like history, culture, current events, science, all kinds of stuff. It's a very big list of what we make videos about. But Nebula is a platform you can go to watch all our videos early, ad-free. You can like download them on your phone. But like, Nebula is curated. I don't know if you guys use YouTube a lot. I do for all kinds of stuff. and it has so much AI. And some of it's like obvious AI, right? Like a movie trailer for Avengers Doomsday, and it's all the characters just kind of turning. But there's also AI content where it is a disembodied voice talking about a news thing or character in a comic book or something. A lot of times I'll be like, what is the deal with this vigilante character? I would like to learn a little bit more about him pretty quickly, so I'll put on a YouTube video. And if I did this 3 years ago, it's like people who know what they're talking about, who are fans of the character, research the character, whatever, and they're like human beings. And I love that. Do it now. Unless you see the person's face or you know who they are, it could very well, and a lot of them are just like AI videos where the AI talks about the characters. It drives me up a wall because you don't always know it until like you're a little bit in and you're like, oh man, something about the way this guy's talking just doesn't feel right. But sometimes they just do sound right, and it's not until like you're pretty much done with the video that you're like, damn it, that wasn't a real person. And like Nebula, it's got a lot of great things going for it, but one main one that I love to tell people about is it's all real people. We are making it ourselves, and all the videos getting made on it are made by us. And it's very cool. And a year of Nebula is already a steal. It's $60 a year, $5 a month. But if you go to go.nebula.tv/thenandocut, in the month of December specifically, you can get a year of Nebula for half that, for $30. That is $2.50 a month. It is an incredible deal. Also, like I said, it's December. The holidays are coming up. Gift giving is always stressful. You get somebody like a t-shirt that they're going to wear once or twice and maybe won't fit. Or you could get them a subscription to a streaming service made by creators you know they love that lets them watch those videos early without ads, lets them download them to their phone. And you can get that for $30 a year if you get it within the month of December. That is an incredible deal. That cannot be beat. So again, go to go.tv/thenandocut in the month of December and get a year of Nebula for $30. It's a great deal. Watch the dinner plan, watch all my videos early, watch all the other cool stuff we put up there. Thank you for watching this video. That's all I got. Stay safe.